Hello students, in this lecture I will be discussing with you about Colpitts oscillator. Now in the previous two lectures you have come across the RC oscillators to be used for audio frequency ranges. So this is the first of the category of LC oscillators. So it is of LC oscillator category to be used for radio frequency ranges or RF ranges. So first of its type is Colpitts oscillator. Now the Colpitts oscillator uses LC network. It uses LC network comprised of combination of two capacitors C1 and C2 and an inductor L to provide the necessary phase shift between the amplifier output voltage and feedback voltage. That means this is comprised of the feedback network for Colpitts oscillator, and in this case the network acts as a filter to pass the desired oscillating frequency and block all other frequencies. As you can see, the why it is being called as working like a filter, because it is made up of such frequency sensitive passive elements C and L. The filter circuit will resonate made up of this will resonate at the desired oscillating frequency. Now although it works very well at low frequencies, the Wien-Bridge oscillator is not suited for high frequencies well above 1 megahertz, as we have seen in the last lecture. The main problem with the Wien-Bridge oscillator is the limited bandwidth of the internal or the basic amplifier. Now one way to produce high frequency oscillation is with the use of LC oscillators, a circuit that can be used for frequencies between 1 and 500 megahertz. So 1 and 500 megahertz, in between these frequencies these LC oscillators can be worked with, and this frequency range is beyond the unity frequency of most of the basic amplifiers, and this is why a bipolar transistor or a FET device is typically used as an amplifier instead of other types of amplifiers for LC oscillators, because of unity gain bandwidth of the amplifier, the issue of the unity gain bandwidth. And with an amplifier and LC tank circuit, we can feed back a signal with proper amplitude and phase to sustain the oscillation in LC oscillators. So I once again repeat the thing: with an amplifier, which is the basic or the internal amplifier, along with the use of LC tank circuit. So this LC network comprised of C and L is called tank circuit. LC tank circuit, this is called, which is being used here as feedback network, and the use of it is to be ensured in such a way that feeding back a signal with proper amplitude and phase could be achieved to sustain oscillations. The analysis and the design of high frequency oscillators are difficult, and there is a question mark on this issue, because at higher frequencies that stray capacitances and lead inductances, as we have found during our discussion on high frequency equivalent circuit of amplifiers or of different amplifiers using BJT and FET. And so at higher frequencies the stray capacitances and lead inductances become very prominent or very dominating factor in determining the oscillation frequency as well as the feedback fraction, output power and other AC quantities. This is why many designers use different approximation models for an initial design and adjust the built up oscillator to get the desired performance. So for high frequency performance, the design of this type of LC oscillators is very critical. Now let us first draw the basic circuit diagram of Colpitts oscillator operating in common emitter mode using BJT to be used in common emitter mode. So first let us draw the circuit. So here this is the coupling capacitor. These two are this transistor is working in common emitter mode. As you can see, the emitter is grounded, so input is provided at the base and output is taken from the collector. So this is base, this is emitter, and this is collector, and here the biasing voltage is applied as VCC plus VCC. And this coil, this is a coil, this is called RF choke, radio frequency choke or choke coil, and this R1 R2 VCC is providing the necessary DC operating condition to this BJT. This RE is the emitter resistance and C is the emitter bypass capacitor, AC bypass capacitor. It is required because of high frequency operation of this particular oscillator. And this portion C1, C2 and this L comprised of this area is my feedback network. This is providing the required feedback, and since only C and L type elements are used, so it is called LC oscillator because of the use of only L and C type elements in the feedback network. Now this is operating in C mode. The resistors R1, R2 and RE and the supply voltage VCC establish I have already told you, the DC operating point of the transistor. And the C is the emitter bypass capacitor. It offers negligible reactance at the frequency of operation, because at more the frequency is high, this C will be acting as a short circuit path to the passing of the signal. The capacitor CC used over here is basically the coupling capacitor, which is coupling the feedback taken from the output into the input of the base of the transistor, and it is used to block any sort of DC current to be flown from the collector to the base via the feedback circuit shown over this area with the LC tank circuit it is comprised of. And this feedback through this LC tank circuit is into the base is done through small resistance of the inductor coil L, and this L is having of small inductor, this L which is the inductor coil is having very small resistance. Now it offers a negligible reactance at the frequency of oscillations. The capacitors C1 and C2 as shown in the feedback network and the inductor L form the frequency determining network or the feedback network. That means with the using the values of L, C1 and C2, we should be getting the frequency of oscillation for this oscillator. And as you can see, since the transistor operates in CE mode, common emitter mode here, you know it introduces a phase difference of 180 degree between input and output voltages. So a fraction of the output voltage that appearing across the capacitor C1, so this is C1, if across the capacitor C1, because the other end of C1 is grounded, so across the capacitor C1, what we are getting is the output voltage actually. And if that voltage is considered as the feedback voltage here, so that voltage it is to be fed back through this coupling capacitor Cc into the base once again. And the feedback voltage is 180 degree out of phase with the output voltage. So we are getting that one is phase difference between the input and output because of BJT, natural operation, normal operation of BJT is 180 degree out of phase between input and output, and through the passage of this LC network there will be additional 180 degree shift. That means here a 180 degree phase shift is observed between VO and Vin, and here also through the signal passage through the feedback network another 180 degree phase shift will be introduced in the signal which is being tapped from the output VO to be inserted into Vin. So as a result of that, we can say the feedback voltage, if it is 180 degree out of phase with the output voltage, we can get the phase shift in the whole circuit as 0 degree or 360 degree around the loop comprising the feedback that can be achieved. So the Barkhausen criteria is satisfied here. And now this RF choke coil that is used over here has a very high inductive reactance. So it is having high XL because it is basically a inductor which is having high value of inductance or inductive reactance, which is called X, which is termed as XL, and so it appears open to the AC signal, because if it is having high reactance, that means no AC should be passing from this collector terminal which is connected to VCC through this choke coil. And so the circuit has a low frequency voltage gain of RC by RE prime. We can find from here, if we analyze the high frequency equivalent circuit, RC by RE prime is the low frequency voltage gain. This is low frequency voltage gain. In this case, we have seen all this discussion about the high frequency analysis for transistor amplifier. Here this RC is called AC collector resistance. AC collector resistance, and because the RF choke appears as open circuit to the AC signal, the AC collector resistance is primarily the AC resistance of the resonant tank circuit. So we can say that the because of the voltage gain that is dependent on the AC collector resistance here, which is RC, small rc, so we can say that as the RF choke is open circuit, that is the isolating the collector terminal from this VCC during the operation of this oscillator, therefore the AC collector resistance is primarily the AC resistance of the resonant tank circuit. So since this node is isolated from this plus VCC, so we can say that the AC collector resistance is primarily the AC resistance of the resonant tank circuit. So this is the resonant tank circuit, and it is having the AC resistance equal to RC, this small value of RC, small rc. So now the AC resistance has the maximum value at resonance, because we are using the resonating structure or made up of 2 C and 1 L, and when this circuit will resonate, at that condition the output will be maximized. So the gain should be maximized. Now many variations of Colpitts oscillator can be framed, and one particular way to recognize a Colpitts oscillator is by the capacitive voltage divider formed by C1 and C2. As you can see from this circuital representation, the C1 and C2 is basically providing us a capacitive voltage divider circuit. So this is the speciality of Colpitts oscillator, where the feedback network is comprised of capacitive voltage division. This idea is applied over here, capacitive voltage division for Colpitts oscillator in this part, in the making of feedback network for this oscillator. So and this it is comprised of C1 and C2. It produces the feedback voltage necessary for oscillations, and in other kinds of oscillator the feedback voltage is produced by sometimes by transformers, inductive voltage dividers, and so on. But for Colpitts oscillator, the capacitive voltage division or capacitive voltage divider circuit is being used. Now the resistors here R1, R2, Re have sufficiently large values and they do not affect the AC operation of the circuit. The equivalent circuit can be drawn of the Colpitts oscillator in this way. So AC equivalent circuit can be drawn in this way for this particular oscillator. It is something like this, a very simplified form of AC equivalent circuit. And this is the current I. So this is a very simplified version of this circuit. This is the AC equivalent circuit, where you can see that VCC, R1, R2, RE, C all have been omitted. Only the feedback network part is there and the BJT is there, where from the output of the VO through this feedback network the signal is fed back as VF to the input base of the C mode of transistor amplifier here, that is used for this purpose. The circulating loop current in the tank circuit flows through C1 in series with C2 is given by I, and also it can be noticed here that VO equals the AC voltage across C1. If we analyze this circuit, this VO is nothing but this VO is the AC voltage across the C1, because VO is measured with respect to ground and C1 is connected immediately to ground. So also the feedback voltage VF, which appears in this case across C2, this VF is appearing across C2 because you know that from this particular circuit that this VF is taken at the bottom point from this connection. This VF is taken so across C2, because C2 at the other direction C2 is grounded. So with the ground and this node, this particular node and this ground, if we measure the voltage across C2, that from the voltage VO has been fed back in terms of Vs into the base of the transistor. So this feedback voltage drives the base here. That means the voltage which has been tapped across C2 is fed back as Vf to the input base of the transistor amplifier, and it will drive the base and sustain the oscillation developed across the tank circuit, provided there is enough voltage gain at the oscillation frequency, because otherwise if the voltage gain is less, if it drops, then there will be appreciable attenuation while the signal will be passed through this feedback network to go once again at the input base of the transistor. So therefore we can say that this RE and CE should be selected in such a fashion in the original circuit that there should be enough voltage gain for the AC purpose, AC operation at the oscillating frequency can be achieved. Since the emitter is at AC ground here, the circuit is a CE connection, so it should be called CE connection. Now to get the resonance or at resonance for this particular circuitry, we can write XL, that inductive reactance should be equal to total capacitive reactance denoted by XCT. So XCT is nothing but total capacitive reactance. Now I am discussing about only the tank circuit, that is the feedback network. Total capacitive reactance in parallel with the inductance. Now from considering this condition at resonance, it will give us the resonance frequency and as well as the oscillation of frequency of oscillation as f to be given by 1 by 2 pi root over LCT. So this is the fundamental formula or the basic formula for frequency of oscillation, where C1 and C2 are connected in series across L, and CT is given by, in this formula where CT has been used, this is given by C1 and C2 in parallel. So this is C1 C2 by C1 plus C2. Is not in parallel, actually the C1 and C2 is connected in series. So the series connected C1 and C2 will provide the equivalent or total capacitance for this resonant circuit as C1 C2 by C1 plus C2. Now consideration of the LC network shows that its attenuation from the amplifier output to the input, because there will be some attenuation, I have already told you, is due to the potential divider circuit or the effect of it between the L and C1, and this will give the beta value, the feedback fractional value, which is given by capacitance. It should be, beta should be found XC1 by XL minus XC1. So across the capacitance C1, the feedback is collected with the, from the value of V0. So the beta will be dependent on what is the voltage that is represented across the capacitor C1 divided by the whole of other resistance, other circuit, that is L and C1. So if we consider a circuit that is made up of L and C1, then across C1 comprising this L and C, the output voltage is tapped, and therefore on that particular value beta will depend. So the beta will be having the formula, it is equal to the ratio of reactances of C1 divided by the equivalent reactance for XL and XC1. Now it can be shown that when the 180 degree phase shift is achieved, then through this, when the signal is passing through this feedback network and getting 180 degree phase shift, then we can say for 180 degree phase shift, XL minus XC1, the denominator term, is equal to XC2. XL minus XC1 is equal to XC2, and it will give, therefore, beta is equal to XC1 divided by XC2, and that is proportionately C2 by C1, because the reactance will be inversely proportional to capacitive value C. So this is another relation between the capacitive reactance and beta to be used in case of Colpitts oscillator. For other oscillator circuits, the loop gain must be greater than unity to ensure sustained oscillation. So therefore in this case also we need the voltage gain AV to be greater than 1 by beta. So therefore AV from here, beta is C2 by C1, should be greater than C1 by C2, as this is 1 by beta, so it should be C1 by C2. So the voltage gain of the basic amplifier should be greater than the ratio of the series connected capacitors used to form the feedback network. So this is one of another important, very important relations to design the Colpitts oscillator. Now, in deriving the above equations, just now what I have written, it was assumed that the coil resistance of the inductor is very much smaller than the inductor impedance. So it is of negligible reactance, so that the Q factor should be of this L used, that is used for feedback network, is large. So for L to be used, so that L to be used in such a way, L to be used in such a way that its internal resistance is very negligible, is negligible or low. So we can neglect that resistance, coil resistance rather, for AC analysis, and this must be taken into account when selecting an inductor, and because this is important for the AC analysis part. And it is observed that because of the neglected inductor resistance and amplifier input impedance in some amplifiers, and because of stray capacitive effects where high frequency oscillator is involved, so we have found this neglect of inductor resistance, then also the input impedance of the basic amplifier, all these things are neglected, and the stray capacitance effect for high frequency oscillation to be in consideration, the amplifier gain usually has to be substantially greater than C1 and C2. So this AV should be very high than C1 by C2. So this is important to achieve all these things, to neglect the effect of stray capacitance, inductor resistance, and amplifier input impedance problems. Now, design of Colpitts oscillator might commence from the choice of the value C2 to be very much larger than the stray capacitance, or with the selection of L. That is important to form the feedback network for Colpitts oscillator. In the absence of amplitude stabilization processes, the oscillator output is likely to approach the supply voltage levels which is used in this circuit. And it is usually best to keep the amplifier input at a fairly low level. The feedback network should attenuate the output by at least a factor of 10. So accordingly, there should be an optimization of how much the amplifier input should be maintained, so that the feedback network may not attenuate the feedback signal quite appreciably. So there must be an optimization or balance between the two, the amplifier input and the signal that is tapped as through the feedback network. And C2 might be selected by approximately C1 by 10, that is using the 10:1 rule. So the relation between C1 and C2 should be 10 times more or less, and XC2 in this case should be very much larger than the amplifier output impedance. Now, using the desired oscillating frequency, inductor L can be calculated from the equations which I have written just now. So in this manner, we can design a Colpitts oscillator where R1, the value of R1 must be large enough to avoid overloading the phase shift network. That means R1 not only having to provide the DC operating condition, but it also will look after and to avoid any overloading of the phase shift network. And R2 is determined from the voltage gain and R1, and normally for that to maintain the to avoid the overloading of the phase shift network, the value of R1 should be made so large that it should be quite greater than the value of xc1. That means the uh, reactance of the capacitor C1. So we need another condition to design Colpitts oscillator. R1 should be far greater than xc1. Now let us draw the equivalent circuit for AC analysis in terms of H parameters for Colpitts oscillator. It can be very simply drawn. So this part is the basic transistor part, and along with this the two capacitors should be connected in this fashion, C1 and C2, and parallel to that the inductor L is to be connected. Okay, so this is HIE, because this is H parameter model, hybrid model of transistor. This is HRE V2. The voltage V1 with respect to ground, that can be if this is the ground point, so this should be measured as V1 and this should be measured as V2, and this V2 is to be used over here. So this is HRE V2 and this should be a dependent voltage source rather, and shaped like a diamond. This should be a dependent source, something like this, and this should be another source which should be a current source, but here it is shown as a voltage source of opposite polarity, because the current source with the value HFE I1 is the current which is flowing in this loop, and I2 is the current which is flowing in this loop, in the right loop. So this I2 should be equal to HFE I1, you know from the hybrid model of transistor, and that HFE I1 and this value, the value of this impedance is 1 by HOE, that is the admittance. And if this is the value of current and that is multiplied by the resistance, that means 1 by HOE, it should give you the voltage. So this current source can be equivalently represented as a voltage source of having value HFE I1 into 1 by HOE. So it is HFE I1 by HOE. So this is nothing but the current source in this right loop is converted into the voltage source. So these two are dependent voltage sources. So this is the H parameter model of AC equivalent circuit of Colpitts oscillator. And using this equivalent circuit, it can be found that C1 by C2 approximately equal to HFE divided by del HE, where del HE is equal to HIE HOE minus HFE HRE. Okay, and this equation gives the condition, this is the condition, C1 by C2 approximately HFE by del HE is the condition for sustained oscillation in case of Colpitts oscillator. Now, since HFE of a transistor may have a value of about 50 and del HE is something in the region of 0.5, it follows from that the ratio of C1 and C2 will be about 100:1. So if we consider here HFE to be around 50 and del HE to be around 0.5, this will give us C1 and C2, the ratio of the two is 100:1. So this will be useful for solving the numericals. Now let us discuss about the starting condition of this oscillator to work. The required starting condition for any oscillator, we know that it is A beta. So starting condition for Colpitts oscillator I am discussing, and for that we need A beta is greater than 1. to sustain the oscillation or the starting condition of oscillation at resonant frequency of the tank circuit when f equal to fr. So this is equivalently we can say that A should be greater than 1 by beta, and the output voltage appearing across C1 and the feedback voltage is appearing across C2. From the diagram itself you can understand that the output voltage of the amplifier is taken across the C1 and feedback voltage across C2, and the ratio of C1 and C2 should be equal to beta. So this ratio C1 and C2 should be equal to beta. So whatever we have found from this empirical values, C1 and C2 ratio is 100:1. This will provide us the value of feedback gain. Now the value of for oscillator to start its oscillation, the minimum voltage gain is, we have seen a little while earlier, AV should be far greater than C1 by C2. But if it is if we consider the minimum value of AV, so for AV min it should be C2 by C1, and this is the relation which provides us the starting point of the oscillator, and this is the corresponding minimum voltage gain, and it depends on the upper cutoff frequencies of the amplifier from its frequency response. And there are also base and collector bypass circuits in BJT amplifiers, because we are using BJT over here. And if the cutoff frequencies of these bypass circuits are greater than the oscillation frequency, then A will be approximately equal to, we have seen for other AC analysis of BJT amplifiers, likewise the gain A should be in that case equal to RC by RE prime. This equation should also hold in this case for Colpitts oscillator. Now if the cutoff frequencies are lower than the oscillation frequency, the voltage gain is less than this value and there is additional phase shift through the amplifier. Now let us discuss something little bit about the output voltage, which we should get out of the output of this Colpitts oscillator. So with small feedback, that means beta value being small, A is only slightly larger than 1 by beta using the Barkhausen criteria, and the operation is approximately like a class A amplifier. We will be later on discuss about the operation of class A amplifier. So when the power is first turned on, the oscillations will build up and the signal will swing over more and more on the AC load line in this case. And with this increased signal swing, the operation changes from small signal to large signal. So it will be something, the oscillation will be like the working of a power amplifier. And when this happens, the voltage gain decreases slightly, and with small feedback used, the value of A beta can decrease to 1 because of small feedback. So therefore, if it happens to be so, the output will be less distorted in this case. But if the feedback is large, the large feedback signal drives the base of the BJT into saturation and cut off quickly, and this will charge the capacitor, coupling capacitor, which will produce a negative clamping effect at the base, which will automatically adjust the value of A beta to 1, so that the sustenance of oscillations can be achieved. But if the feedback is very high, it may lose some of the output voltage because of stray power loss. So unnecessarily high feedback is not desirable in this case. So therefore we can say that when to build an oscillator, we need to adjust the feedback to maximize the output voltage, and the idea to use the required feedback is to start under all conditions, but not so much that some of the output signal is lost. So designing reliably high frequency oscillators will be a challenge, obviously. It is seen that the frequency of oscillation will depend on the quality factor of the circuit, and hence the basic formula for frequency of oscillation or the resonant frequency is equal to 1 by 2 pi root over LC, along with a term root over Q square divided by Q square plus 1. So this is more generalized expression where the quality factor is a deterministic value to find the resonant frequency or the frequency of oscillation when Q is greater than 10. When Q is greater than 10, then this equation will be simplified to the equation of 1 by 2 pi root over LC. That means this term root over Q square by Q square plus 1 will be vanished. Okay, so but if the when Q is less than 10, the frequency is lower than the ideal value. That means for Q less than 10, this Fr should be less than 1 by 2 pi root over LC. So for very low values of Q, which will be harmful for the or rather we can say not so much beneficial for the operation of oscillator, if Q is less than 10, then the frequency of oscillation should be less than the normal value or the general value of 1 by 2 pi root over LC. And a low Q may prevent the oscillator from starting also. That will be also causing another problem, because it may reduce the high frequency voltage gain because of low Q below the starting value of 1 by, because we need a high frequency voltage gain A beta, we need this condition in such a way A beta greater than 1 that A and beta should be having a particular relation between them, and if it happens to be so that A is less than 1 by beta, that means there will be chances of non-operation of the oscillator or the starting will be affected because of reduction of the voltage gain A at high frequency because of Q having less value of having a value less than 10. So like other LC oscillators, Colpite oscillator is also used for generating RF signals, as I have told you, and they can be made as tunable by varying either the inductance or the capacitance of the tank circuit, because if we vary the values of inductances and capacitances of the feedback circuit, the frequency of oscillation may be varied, and so the oscillator feedback circuit can be made tunable in that case, and smooth variations of L are difficult, while for capacitive tuning the values of C1 and C2 are to be varied simultaneously in the ratio of maintaining 100:1 we have seen. So this is very difficult task and requires a special type of ganked variable capacitor to accomplish the tuning task, maintaining the ratio between C1 and C2 at 100:1. So therefore the Colpite oscillators are commonly used to generate a fixed frequency signals, and variation of frequency for in case of Colpite oscillator is generally avoided because of this. So this is all about the discussion regarding the Colpite oscillator. We will be next discussing about Hartley's oscillator in the next lecture. Thank you.